Howdy ho ho, my good humans. How the hell are you doing? This is Unnecessary Rambling. I'm Brandon Sylvia. I'm joined by my homie Mr. Looney in the building. How you doing, man?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad.
So I had the idea to talk a little bit about our early game of the year predictions. I wanted to do this earlier in the year to just throw some points on the board. And I talked about this a little bit in my 2024, predictions video, but I figured this would be fun having two people on here and trying to predict in March 2024, what will be the six games nominated for Game of the Year in November 2024? So we'll probably do this as like a periodic update, provide periodic updates to this video, maybe do two, three of these throughout the rest of the year and see how close we can come to getting that big six locked in, the six
And
games nominated for Keeley's game of the year. And Looney, you were just talking about on your list going through, you were like, man, it's hard to come up with a good six because it feels like there's a lot of high 8 out of 10 games and not a whole lot of like 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10s on the horizon and games that have already released.
yeah, it's definitely, I think we both underestimated this year
Yeah.
when we were predicting it. In what was it, December or January? Um, it's definitely a lot stronger, but I don't think we're going to be seeing all that many, as we said, like nines, nine pluses. These feel like high eights. And when you think of game of the year, you think, they need to be very, very, very good games. So,
And it's worth mentioning as well. We're trying to predict for the Game Awards, the six games that'll be nominated for the Game Awards, where this isn't Looney and I. This isn't our personal picks, the things we want to win. Well, we actually do have one category for where we'll talk about that in a little bit, but we're trying to predict the six games that we think will be nominated at Keeley's award show. So we're not going back and forth with our personal picks here. Um, but yeah, no, I definitely underestimated the quan quantity of games, I guess I would say. And it's not to dismiss the quality. There have been high quality games that have released so far in 2024, but we're getting just a lot more games than I expected. We're being bombarded with new releases and yeah, it doesn't feel like there's a clear front runner for the end of the year. So it's going to be interesting to see how, because we haven't talked about our personal list or, our list that we've put together here predicting the big six. So it's going to be interesting to see if we share many picks, because I think this is one of those years where you could have a totally different list other than maybe one or two games than me.
mm, yeah, no, absolutely.
But without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to hop on over here to our little shared document, and we are going to begin our predictions. Um, Loon, do you want to kick it off first with your sixth entry? And I guess we'll go in ascending order. We'll go from six to one.
Yeah. Um, if this hadn't got a release date, this wouldn't be here, but they did lock in, I believe it's September 3rd or something. And that's Stalker 2.
Okay.
I think with how, and the reason I've put this here as well, I wouldn't have put this here if them uh free remasters weren't so high quality. They came out of nowhere, and as I've said before, they're a real pain to get running on like modern hardware.
Right.
So what they've done with them kind of instills me with a little bit more confidence than I would have had for them before that. And I think that we ain't getting really all that many shooters this year, so I think it will stand out as well, to be
Yeah.
honest.
It's an interesting one. I don't have that one on my list. I I think there if it comes out and it's not like really, really rough at launch, which like you said, that the port collection, they seem to all be of a decently high quality for the console release, not overly buggy or anything, right?
Mm, I mean, the games that are from like 2007 that run on a janky engine, but yeah, for what they are, they're really incredibly polished. I think I haven't ran into any bugs or crashes, and the two friends that are playing it at the same time as me, one finished it with very minimal issues, and the other person's only had one crash in
Nice.
like 30 hours of gameplay.
Okay. Stalker 2 in at your number 6 slot. So I'm gonna go with the indie pick. I'm gonna go with Plucky Squire.
Hmm.
I think you always have, that indie game that slips in, other than a year like 2023 where it was just packed with AAA after AAA after AAA, mega, mega heavy hitters. You usually have the indie game that slips in, the indie darling, Stray in 2022. And so I just think that Plucky Squire will fill that indie game of the year void. It looks incredibly high quality. Obviously, we'll have gameplay running for these games so you can see it. No need to, rehash and go over exactly what the game is. It's absolutely ridiculous. From the 2D pages side scroller to the 3D Toy Story style. It's crazy what they're pulling off on a technical level. And if it comes out this year, there's still no locked in date for
Hmm.
the Plucky Squire. That's the thing that really, really worries me. But good Lord, it looks so good, and you always got to have that indie game in the mix usually. So I'm gonna use the Plucky Squire for my indie title.
No, that's a good pick. Um, it wasn't it meant to release last year and it got delayed?
Yep, that's the thing that
So
gives me a little bit of hope.
yeah, so that's both number sixes. Were meant to release last year and got delayed. Modern
Right.
gaming at its finest.
Right. No, yeah, you're 100% right. But yeah, it just I I don't I don't think in a year like 2023 the Plucky Squire could have any real shot at landing there. But I think like we talked about, in a year with a lot of high eights and not a lot of 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 style games, I think the Plucky Squire could find its way in there. But yeah, what you got for number 5, man?
Passion pick. Really want Avowed to just come out and just be good. Um, they keep they've kept it under wraps quite a lot, and then obviously they showed that gameplay trailer, and it looked kind of. But if anybody can pull off some crazy magic, it's Obsidian at the end of the day. You know, they
Yeah.
they seem to just even if it is janky and then maybe the combat isn't as good as it could be, there'll be something special in there for sure that's worth the time.
Yeah. I'm really, really excited for that damn game. I worry, and I think the reason I didn't put it on my list is because of when we saw that combat, I was just like, oh my God, man, the spells look pretty fun,
Yeah.
but the melee combat, I was like, dude, that looks archaic. But that's the thing with Obsidian is they're not a combat centric developer. Like they
No,
are,
the Alpha Protocol's combat was woeful.
yeah,
But
absolutely.
it's an incredibly magical game, and if more people would have given it a shot, I think it would top most people's lists.
Well, and it's the thing where the reason that people love Obsidian is they have unbelievable stories. Their
Mm.
writers are incredible over there and they're branching paths and like it feels so meaningful. And if they can nail that, the things that we know Obsidian for, if they can nail that here, uh, which by all accounts they should, and if that combat can just get cleaned up a little bit, I could
Yeah,
see it being a dark, somewhat of a dark horse sleeper pick for our big six here.
yeah, and it's not and then it's not in like a what do you call it, like a one-off IP. Like it's obviously built off of the Pillars universe, so that story that's already extremely strong, they have so much lore to pull from and craft an incredible story, and I think they will do that.
Yeah. And also, broadening it and opening it up for a brand new audience. And
Mm.
so yeah, I think there could be a good shot of Avowed slipping in there. But talking about Microsoft, I actually didn't have Avowed on mine, but I do have Hellblade 2. Um,
Interesting.
I think with you need that one ultra photorealistic game in your sixth lineup for game of the year. When you're marketing game of the year, you want to have that one game that people are like, "Oh my God, is that a movie?" And not, I don't think that really is the reason Hellblade 2 will get in there. Hellblade 1 was critically beloved. You know, people absolutely loved that game, and that was a team working with total independence. You know what I mean? They were, as far as I'm aware, they didn't have really any outside funding for Hellblade 1, and they were able to make one of the most beautiful games on last gen hardware independently. So what the hell can they do with Microsoft money behind it? And we know from what we've seen already, it's the most beautiful game that's going to release in 2024. There's just, unless something comes out of nowhere, total surprise, Hellblade 2 is going to win the technical superiority race. It is absolutely a powerhouse on a technical level, and it just seems like you always have one of those games in
Yep.
contention. One of those games that's like the most beautiful game of the year.
Yep. No, absolutely.
But yeah, I had a couple other ones that I thought about for my number five slot. We'll kind of throw out some honorable mentions later. But yeah, Hellblade 2, I'm giving my number five. What you got for your number four?
Something that's coming out in less than a week, and it's one of the two. Drum roll, Dragon's Dogma 2. Um, I don't think Rise of the Ronin has as much bite as Dragon's Dogma 2. Um, as we've mentioned many times in the past, what would most people rather pick up on that day? Would you rather pick up an established IP that's a sequel, or, you know, test the footing of a brand new game? Um, it's also just its fans are just rabid, like really, really devoted fans, and it's not releasing anywhere near an Elder Scrolls game, so it should shine a hell of a lot better this time.
Yeah, I think Rise of the Ronin is really about to face an uphill battle with that game. I don't understand releasing, which obviously it's not up to which I mean I guess it could be, you know, it just changed the date. You know, it's like you have a game that's so similar in Dragon's Dogma 2. Like of course they both have their differences, but in terms of a third person open world action adventure game, like I don't know. I just would not want to compete with Dragon's Dogma 2, especially when Rise of the Ronin, it does look pretty damn good. It looks pretty interesting.
Mm,
Why not, you know, separate yourself from a game that's so similar? And people are going to plop because they're both $70 titles. Like
yeah.
people are going to pick one or the other on that day. And everything after that full price release is diminishing returns. So I don't know. I think Dragon's Dogma 2 is definitely, and I guess I'll go ahead and spoil. I have Dragon's Dogma 2 at my number two slot. I think it's a real I, performance issues are the only it's the only thing that makes me really wonder with Dragon's Dogma 2. If people are going to really hold its feet to the fire for the performance issues. If
I
it
mean, the first game didn't run badly at all. It was a very smooth game.
Yeah, but they're doing like the what is it, the unlocked frame rate and the
Yeah.
yeah. So and I mean
I
we've seen gameplay of it running a bit choppy, but
yeah. I
it
mean, it's Capcom as well. Like they're on such a hot streak. Like what have they released other than them weird things that they've bundled with the Resident Evil remakes, like Resistance and Reverse? They've not really dropped the ball at all.
Exoprimal.
Oh Jesus. I forgot about that.
Yeah, but what
Oh,
it's gonna be a ultra high quality game. Dragon's
mm,
Dogma, there's no doubt about it. Dragon's Dogma 2 is gonna be an ultra high quality game. I have no doubt about that. It's just eh, certain games come out and they have performance issues and people don't mind at all. Other games come out and have performance issues and critics will hang on to that with everything in their power. They'll berate a game for its performance issues and there's really
mm,
not a lot of clear consistency with that. So I don't know. I think regardless it'll be in the final six, I think.
yep.
All right. So I guess do you want to hit your well, I'll go ahead and hit my number
Well,
four.
what we'll do is we'll even it back up again because I had Hellblade at number three, so
Oh,
as
okay.
well.
All right, perfect. So there we go. Hellblade 2.
And as you said, it's going to be an extremely pretty game, smothered in awards when that first game come out, and it's just something that needs to get the Xbox side of things like excited again to see games coming to that system that are high quality and will just kick ass.
Yeah, it's earlier in the year whenever I did my first prediction thing, I said that I thought Xbox would have two first party game of the year contenders this year. And I no longer believe that because after seeing Avowed, but but I it is very good news for Xbox for the first time in over a decade where like you can look to the future and go, damn, these dudes have a few games that could actually be in contention for Game of the Year. And if Indiana Jones, I'm thinking it probably won't release in time, but you're talking about Machine Games with another first person shooter, a licensed IP looking like a great story. That could absolutely be a Game of the Year contender if it releases before early November.
I think it would be wise for them to push it to like a January release
Totally.
because they love chasing these awards. They do mean stuff. So if they feel like Hellblade has a genuine shot at maybe scooping it, if they're that confident in it, maybe pushing Indiana Jones to next year so that they need to make sure, and it's the same with Sony, you need to make sure at least one of your IPs gets into the top six on a yearly basis.
Yeah.
You're failing heavily if that's not the case. Big time.
Yeah, I mean, just at least on a consistent basis. You know what I mean? Like if you miss a couple years here and there, no big deal. And I mean, obviously sales matter more than anything, but I you look at Control and Control was selling poorly before it was nominated for Game of the Year in 2019. And then when it got nominated, the sales shot up. So it definitely does help sales. Um and yeah, I think that it's a because I mean, what would be the last year that Xbox had a Game of the Year? Was
God, Jesus
Psychonauts
Christ.
2?
Ye- But
20
even then, that was on PlayStation.
True, yeah.
So
Because I remember
a
Forza
very long
Horizon,
time.
yeah, Forza Horizon 5, I don't think was nominated in 2021, which I thought was like, damn, man, but it came out close to the cutoff date. So maybe not enough people had time to play it, but I was like, that's such a great video game. And I was so surprised that especially in a year like 2021, where there weren't a bunch of super
I
heavy
think that
hitters.
that suffered though with it being the fifth game in the series and people just expecting that level of quality. It wasn't special at that
True.
point. So,
That's very true.
but yeah, that's just my 2 cents on that.
But yeah, it definitely looked like it looks like the tides are turning for
Hmm.
Team Xbox over there. So my fourth slot, I so I really am struggling between two games right here, and I wrote both of them down in my notes, and I'm looking at my notes, and I'm like I told myself I'll pick one on the fly, and I'll go ahead and I'll lay out my rationale here. My two games are Tekken 8 and Infinite Wealth, Yakuza or Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. And I it's such a bummer that a game of the quality bar of Tekken is probably not going to get nominated just because of the genre that it's in. Because Street Fighter 6 didn't get nominated for Game of the Year last year, and that is about the highest quality in terms of the fighting game community. People hold Street Fighter 6 to like the highest possible uh
Yeah.
and it's like Tekken 8 is kind of right around that same realm and but in a year that's lighter, could it possibly find a way in? I don't know, man. I'm gonna go Infinite Wealth for my fourth slot. I do it bums me out that I don't think Tekken will get into the final six because I really feel like it probably deserves a slot somewhere in there. But so does Infinite Wealth. And golly, yeah, I'm gonna go Infinite Wealth for my fourth slot.
Well, great minds think alike because that's my second. I think
Infinite
it's
Wealth,
just, yeah, because as you obviously number one is what we think is going to win for that
totally.
slot, and I think it's just going to fall short. It's an incredible entry into the series, and it's sold so many damn copies, so many copies, and like even on Xbox, it was doing extremely well. And you're talking every single Yakuza game that since they added the up to what like six into Game Pass and stuff, like they've been dropping them day one. So then to just be like, yeah, we're not dropping this one, and it's still sold extremely well, just shows how damn good the series is.
Yeah, totally. And you what you've put like 60 plus hours into that thing?
But yeah, probably about 70,
Yeah.
almost 80.
I
Cracking game.
yeah, I want to well, we'll talk about it in a bit. But yeah, it definitely by all accounts seems like it belongs in there. Just a bummer that I think Tekken will get squeezed out probably. Um, my number three here, gotta go the obvious.
Oh,
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. You look surprised.
you think Dragon's Dogma above that?
I those two are a real toss up for me.
Oh
I
boy.
think there's a fervor, like you said, around Dragon's Dogma 2 that here's my thing with Dragon's Dogma 2. I think that if it comes out and it doesn't, if people don't hold its feet to the fire for the performance issues, I think the way that this game is going to be talked about is going to be like, one of those once in a generation water cooler conversation style games. Um, and
The
yeah,
like a Skyrim-esque kind of thing where
right.
it's just okay.
Exactly. Because I mean, the what I've seen, dude, when I saw the thing the other day where there's like this big ass giant throwing these arrows, like it was awe-inspiring. It was so fucking sick, and I, it, performance issues are the only thing that make me think that that game could possibly, be drugged down a little bit. But I think it's gonna really be up there. But yeah, you could definitely put Rebirth ahead of Dragon's Dogma 2. I would totally understand that rationale. I mean, I think Rebirth is at like a 92 on Metacritic if I'm not mistaken. So it'll probably review higher than Dragon's Dogma 2. But that's the thing is like, when you look at when you look at well, actually, bad example. I was gonna say when you look at Elden Ring, but I think Elden Ring was one of the highest reviewed games of all time. But it had some performance issues when it launched,
Mhm.
So it's like I don't know. You can
I
definitely,
think it's a lot. It's a thing that's a lot more lenient. People just seem to accept that there's going to be performance issues in a lot of releases nowadays.
yeah.
So yeah.
And I think there's like something about surprise factor that's important for a lot of these games. I think Dragon's Dogma 2 has more of a surprise factor element to it, where, like you said, it is definitely The fans who love it, but I think this is kind of like a new IP to a lot of people. I think there's going to be
Yeah.
a lot of people jumping in who just never played the first one. Like,
Well, like with what you were saying, like the giant and how that's awe-inspiring, that was all stuff that was in that first game, like these massive spectacle fights and fight you know, it did the you're able to clamber on these giants and knock their helmets off and stuff like that and hold on to dragons as they're trying to, you know, fling you off and stuff like that. So these things have existed since, you know, the 360 that game released on, and it was doing all that stuff, and it completely was slept on.
right.
So yeah,
Well, and when you look at like Rebirth, if I think of so this is how my brain goes. I think of Rebirth and I draw a comparison point to Tears of the Kingdom. People expected Tears of the Kingdom to be of the highest possible quality bar, and it was. But it didn't have that shock factor like Baldur's Gate 3 did. Baldur's Gate 3, no one expected Baldur's Gate 3 to be what it was, other than the people who have played who were playing the beta and all that shit. But like nobody expected Baldur's Gate 3 to go from selling, 3 million copies for the first two games to 25 plus million copies on the third game. Like that is such an anomaly. And I think we could have a similar situation here with Dragon's Dogma 2 or even Elden Ring in 2022. I draw the comparison point from Rebirth to God of War Ragnarok, where it's like it was people expected it to be of the
yeah,
highest possible quality bar, and it met that. But there is like that surprise element that I think Dragon's Dogma 2 or you know, It Takes Two in 2021. Like what a surprise that that game took Game of the Year. You know what I mean? I could see Dragon's Dogma 2 kind of fitting somewhere in that realm.
yeah. No, yeah, like, I could agree with that because it's all about it. It shows just how powerful word of mouth is by the fans and how loud they scream. Because if you're listening to somebody rave on about another Final Fantasy game that's good, you don't really think about it. You're like, yeah, you know, there's like 20 games and 20 plus games in that series, and you say all of them are good. It's just another one to the pile and stuff like that. So yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That I might be wrong on this, but that I don't know. That's at least my train of thought. For Rebirth being below Drag, but they, like I said, those are interchangeable. That one and two is interchangeable. But what do you got for your number one, man? What do you think is going to win Game of the Year?
I really think it is going to be Rebirth, personally.
Okay.
Um, it's I obviously haven't played it myself. I've heard you have enjoyed it thoroughly, but at the same time, and the only thing that makes me hesitant is maybe it might not, is that it hasn't pleased everybody. Some people are really unhappy with plot points and weird convoluted crap that didn't really need to be there. It's that thing where, you know, you're taking a second crack at something that's so iconic and so beloved, and then you do major changes, and that's always gonna run the risk of upsetting the original fans.
Totally. Yeah,
So, yeah.
I'd be lying if I said I really understood what the hell was going on with the story at all at this point. I get like the main plot, but man, there is a lot.
There's just so many weird plot points and just like you understand the main overall goal, but like everything that's holding these threads together, and it's because it's the director is the guy who did Kingdom Hearts, which is just a series known for just batshit craziness of just like no one knows what the hell's going on.
Well, the thing with Rebirth is that like it I think that remake from 2020, I think that its story was so good because it was so consistent and like clean kind of like there wasn't a whole lot of or at least it just didn't feel as vast. You know what I mean? It felt like I could keep up consistently with the plot because it was going from point A to point B to point C, and there wasn't as much room in the middle to get distracted. And I think that's a testament to Rebirth as a video game, opposed to remake as a story. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is a better video game. There's so much to do. There's endless amounts of fun to be had in that game with the mini games galore and these open world environments, and there's so much cool shit. But in that cool shit, it's easy to lose the pacing and lose focus on the actual main story that you're trying to be, wrapped up in. So, um, yeah, but it's as your number one spot, I absolutely, positively could see it winning Game of the Year. There, no doubt about it. Um, yeah, it's an incredible video game.
Right, what is your crown?
So this is
I don't actually. Yeah, I don't think I could guess.
yeah, this is gonna open up a can of worms for this discussion.
Oh, I didn't even know that that was available.
I
Oh, are you kidding me?
don't know if I'm spelling this right, but is that right?
Yeah,
Urchery?
yep,
Okay.
yep.
Yeah, Elden Ring Shadows of the Erdtree, I think is going to win Game of the Year. And I would never in my wildest dreams have put this here if it wasn't for last year seeing Cyberpunk Phantom of the Lib or Phantom
Oh, I
Liberty.
completely forgot.
Yeah, Cyberpunk last year
Oh,
got
that's a gut
nominated.
punch. Well, good thing we're doing another one of these. That's fucking getting right put in there.
I think this is risky. I think this is a risky play.
No, no.
I mean, listen, I know that that fan base is absolutely we talk about the fervor for Dragon's Dogma 2. It's a different level for Elden Ring. And here's the thing. If it wasn't for Phantom Liberty last year being nominated for best, see, that's the thing. Phantom Liberty was nominated for best RPG though. So we don't really have any example there. This would be the example. This would be where the precedent is set. You know what I mean? This would be the first ever, if I'm not mistaken, this would be the first ever DLC that would be nominated for Game of the Year. And for me to go from not just
Yeah.
yeah, and for me to not put it as just one of the six, but to put it as Game of the Year, I think that's jumping like 5 steps ahead here. So that could be a really risky play.
I don't. You have opened up a can of worms because this is my expertise. To put it into like full perspective for you, every single Souls-like that's had a DLC, the DLC has always been beloved way more than the base game ever was. They have not missed a DLC. For Dark Souls 1, the DLC is considered the best part of the game. Dark Souls 2, the base games were kind of whack, so the DLC is completely saved that. Free DLCs considered the best parts. Like,
But
it's just crazy.
to be fair, though, that would kind of work against my argument here for Elden Ring being nominated because if those games, the DLC was the best part and they were never nominated, you know what I mean? It's like,
I think that this is a Goliath, though. Like, you're
okay,
talking like Elden Ring. I know the Souls series is really well known even before Elden Ring, but that made huge waves. And you're talking they're predicting that this DLC is going to have like 40 hours of content to beat, just to beat. Like I'm not talking 40 hours for you to see everything. That's just to conquer every boss to get to them DLC credits, as it were. Like this is going to be mammoth.
yeah.
So man, got me excited now.
Yeah, it's and I think that, when I look at best DLC content of all time, when I look at both of the Witcher 3 expansions, Blood and Wine and Hearts of Stone, right?
Hmm. Yep.
When I look at those two pieces of content, I think individually either of those could and should be nominated in most Game of the Year Big Six lists. Um, and so if this is going to dwarf that in terms of size and scale and essentially be a sequel to some degree, like I think there's no doubt that it's yeah, I think there's no doubt that it's going to be at least in contention. I don't know about game of the year, but at least in contention.
Yeah, especially if they continue the track record, because Dark Souls 1's DLC is the only DLC that I can say with almost positive. That is the only thing that reused like assets from the base game of like a map, like as it were. It was a different time perspective on it, and obviously because it was a much smaller thing. But if they create an entirely brand new area for this whole 40 hours worth of content and stuff, that's yeah, it will kill
Yeah.
everything else on that list. If it's allowed to be nominated, I should add.
I and once that's a great point right there, Loon, is the only example that we have is Phantom Liberty last year, and it was for best RPG, not game of the year. So it's like I would assume that would mean that Phantom Liberty also could have been
Yeah, it must have, because otherwise it shouldn't have been on a best RPG list.
that yeah,
They
that
they
was
would have just, if they felt that strongly about it as a DLC, they could have just been like, what's the best expansions that we received this year? But they haven't decided to do that as a category. They felt that strongly about it, so yeah.
yeah, I'm not 100% confident in this. You can't deny the impact that that game. I mean, it's crazy to the point where, and I think you and I have talked about this before. If you had to look at like single player, most popular single player games, obviously Grand Theft Auto, Rockstar stuff would be like, one, two, and I guess just one and two now with Red Dead and GTA.
Yeah.
But would Elden Ring not be like number maybe Zelda, but like Elden Ring is a top five most anticipated, most like highest selling. It crossed over to it went from being a very very popular, but 5-10 million selling franchise with Souls to now 30 plus million copies I think has been sold. I
Yep.
mean, that's upper echelon. By the time that this generation is over, this will be in the 50-60 million copies sold range. Like that's up there with best-selling games of all time.
No, absolutely.
It's crazy, man. But yeah, so I'm going Elden Ring for GOTY. But let's go ahead and kick it over. We had two little fun side I don't know if you call these nominees, but two little fun side conversations to be had here. We got our dark horse pick and I guess we probably should have did this before game of the year, but fuck it. We got our dark horse pick and
No,
our
no, no,
big.
no, no, no. You've made me. I've got a big wish now.
Oh,
I've got that
right.
locked in.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So you want to go ahead and throw that on there?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, and I guess I should explain. Dark Horse, obviously, you guys know what Dark Horse is. We think that Dark Horse is a game that we think, and not only for my Dark Horse, I don't know about Loon. I don't think I laid this out as a format or a rule or whatever, but for my Dark Horse, I don't think that it's a game that could just float around the six. I think my Dark Horse could win Game of the Year, but some massive asterisks that we'll get into in a bit. Big Wish, we have the big six here. This is the big wish. This is if we could right now wave our damn our GOTY wand and say that's the game we're wishing into existence to win game of the year. If anything, we can wish to be of the highest possible quality bar, a game that we think deserves game of the year recognition, something we think should get that honor and we hope gets that honor. That's what Big Wish is for. So you're going with Shadows of the Erdtree?
Yeah.
All right. Elden Ring. I'll just throw DLC down here. So yeah, I guess is there really any need to expand on that one? We just talked about it
I
for an
won't
hour.
chew anyone's ear off any further on it.
All right. So your big wish is Elden Ring DLC. My big wish going Star Wars Outlaws. And
Mm,
for this, I, I guess my biggest wish is just that it releases and it comes
yeah,
out and it's in a
I was
clean.
about to say, yeah.
Yeah. I guess that's really my biggest wish is that it just comes out and it releases. It's in a clean state. And if you need more time, take more time. But my only worry, and I guess once again why this would tie to a wish, is that if it doesn't come out this year, it's going up against Grand Theft Auto 6 next year. I think that's a dangerous place to be in for any open world game, especially games that are borrowing from features from old Grand Theft Auto games. Because by the
Yeah,
time GTA 6 comes out, could this look archaic? You know what I mean? Like, are you going to be compared to the new one, not the
yeah,
old ones? But now, if you release in 2024, you're going to be compared to the old ones. So all of your new features are going to look fresh and shiny. However you do your wanted system, it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to look fresh. It's going to look shiny. It's not going to be a direct copy of GTA 5. It's probably going to be a little bit more advanced. Um, and I just think that, and I know that the Ubisoft, some executive over at Ubisoft they said in a earnings call, we don't fear Grand Theft Auto. It's like, brother, you, I listen. I appreciate the confidence, and I hope that means that you have a high quality game on your hands. But quality really doesn't. Quality be damned. It's the juggernaut. The
yeah, yeah.
yeah
They've never even come close to hitting numbers of a GTA game. Like that's just the absurdity.
yeah. And I'm not trying to say it's just the fact that if you come out now, I think it is. If you come out if it's possible for it to come out, and once again this is a wish, I don't think this is going to come true. I think Star Wars Outlaws will come out 2025. I think knowing Ubisoft, they'll probably put it out a week or two before Grand Theft Auto 6. It'll be
Oh, that'd be suicidal even. Like you want like 6 months at
at
least
least.
buffer. Like
Yeah.
but you literally yeah, you said that the guy said in the earnings call that he doesn't fear it, so make your bed and lay in it.
But really, honest to God, I am so excited for this game. I really cannot wait to check it out. And if I could wish it into existence for it to release in a clean, polished state this year to just avoid getting just railroaded by
Mm.
GTA 6, that would be my pick for Big Wish. But moving on into Dark Horse, what do you have for your Dark Horse contender for Game of the Year?
Right. Something I haven't played myself, but Jesus Christ, that like people just will not shut up about this damn thing. And I didn't even think it was going to be all that good, but it seems to just be resonating with people, and it's Helldivers too.
Very, very good pick, and one that we probably should have brought up.
Like it's baffling. Like I understand it's one of them. It is one of them games where it would attach to like a Twitch and explode and stuff like that. But even then, it just feels like it's gained so much traction and so much love. And
Yeah,
like I said, I wasn't expecting it to get that level of. I thought it was just going to be the same as like a Foam Stars thing, where it just fizzles out. But no,
totally.
it's still going strong even today.
Those concurrent numbers for Helldivers 2, it's astounding, man. It's astounding that many people are like constantly playing that game. I mean, it's constantly in the 200,000 and 300,000s and just it has not dipped off yet, which is an anomaly for these style of games. And I think that it's a testament to the quality of the game. It's not a game that I'm personally all that interested in, but I have seen gameplay clips of it where I'm like, oh my God,
Mm.
like there's some crazy shit going on in there. But yeah, I considered it for my big six, but what was the last like live service game that got nominated? My thing with Helldivers 2 is this. By the end of the year, are players disappointed with the lack of updates, the lack of new content, new high quality content being drip fed? Because that's the thing when remember Halo Infinite, it came out and was beloved when it released, but then the content dried up there was nothing for people to return back to. And now it's kind of turned the corner, but for a while, people were just like so negative on that game. And I wonder,
Yeah, I don't know who the guy is who's like the main designer, but they seem to have that locked down by the sounds of it.
for Helldivers 2.
They seem from what I've heard, they already have things in place. They've just not deployed it yet. So they've already
Okay.
prepared. They've basically looked at how these live service games function, and instead of dropping it and then sitting there working away it for 3, 4, 5 months, what I'm assuming is once they start seeing a little bit of a dip in, just drop that thing instead of dropping it all at once and then going through a content drought. Just be smart with it, and I think that is the only way that you can kind of compete now.
Yeah.
You can't be doing because you look at even it doesn't work for single player games either. You could like the episodic model never works.
Oh God, no.
Like you need to give somebody the full package. Or they need to be very, very quick with them, but they never do that with the episodic things, and that's why it never worked. Whereas with these live service games, if you can get like a strong concept out and then maybe have two updates already ready that are basically 90% done, so that you can just have them just tinkered with a little bit just to see how the game is perceived at that time, and then maybe adjust accordingly and then drop it. That's the way to think, and that's why I think it will be a dark horse because I from what I've seen, they seem to understand that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's no doubt a, a huge shock how big that game got and how beloved it is. So I think that's a great dark horse pick. For mine, I am gonna go with Dragon Age 4 or Dreadwolf. I'll just throw 4 down here. Dragon Age 4, there was the rumor that it was supposed to come out in 2024 that surfaced last week. And I think here's the thing. I don't think it'll release in time regardless. I think it's a late November, early December style game, even if it does come out, which I don't necessarily believe the rumors 100% anyway. With it being shown for the first time summer of 2024, you're only going to give it a 6 month marketing window, which we have seen these marketing windows shrink down drastically. I, if they are able to nail what they're setting out to nail, a combination between God of War style gameplay, but BioWare style choices and branching narrative pathways, that's really something that we've never seen before. If it has that level of depth with the choices and also that level of polish with the combat, with the cutscenes and shit like that. Like if they can blend all that together, that's something that's really never we've never seen that before. Do I think that they can? Maybe not. But that's why Dark Horse, I think that this could be a game of the year contender. Like I think that this could be number one if it nails all of these things. That's a lot to throw at it. That's a lot of expectation and weight to put on it. But if it can do those things, if it can check off those boxes that have never been checked off before, ever, you know what I mean? Like having a God of War style combat loop in and of itself is an entire development cycle. You know what I mean? That's an entire 8 years of development, 7 years of
Yeah,
development, just trying to get that down. But then throwing on top of it the complexity with the choices and the narrative branching pathways. The issue is which of those, if you nail both of them, never been seen before. But if one is like a diet God of War or a diet BioWare, a diet Dragon Age choices, like you know what I mean? If something
yeah.
is probably going to have to be sacrificed, but if they can do it.
I mean, the only thing that worries me about that is that they've kind of already done that, but they've had to sacrifice the one thing, and that was Dragon Age 2, where they really emphasize like if we're gonna deliver on a combat system, like they sat there and overhauled it from Origins supposedly, and it really didn't gel well with with the people who'd played Origins and were really looking forward to it, and then it didn't do its job of introducing new people to the series. Nobody really, there wasn't Skyrim fans clamoring to jump ship and be like, "Ooh, this looks good."
Yeah,
So, and oh my, like BioWare, man, they're they're a shell of their former selves.
totally.
Um,
Yeah, I mean that
a lot
staff.
of yeah, a lot of their staff has jumped ship. Mundane dropped a trailer for something, and I'm drawing a blank on the name. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's meant to be done by the BioWare like
Uh,
Golden team, and it's like a Mass Effect spiritual successor.
Exodus.
I think it might be that, and that I mean that just looks. It, it's obviously nowhere near the budget that like EA could throw at something like that, but you can see the soul and the passion. And I'm a massive Dragon Age fan, but all you've shown me is just concept. You've not shown me anything of worth. You've shown me places that I know from the lore, but you've not shown me what this game is like running at and stuff like that. And it's very worrying. It feels like a lot of smoke and mirrors.
Totally. Yeah, my only thing would be that we've seen this EA resurgence sort of take shape over honestly since Jedi Fallen Order in
Mm,
2019. And it seems that it seems with BioWare there's always been this big dividing line between what BioWare wanted and what EA wanted. And now it seems that EA is allowing studios to kind of do what they want because with Respawn proving that single player high quality games still can sell like hotcakes, that just gives me a little bit more faith that Dragon Age will be able to kind of be its own thing without meddling from EA, without EA going in there and but like you said, BioWare is maybe just as much of a concern as EA. Is BioWare even capable of reaching their former glory? Um, but you know, people can say what they will about Dragon Age Inquisition. It did win Game of the Year in 2014.
it's,
At
I
24
I love the series and I did love that game, but like that was just I don't know what the hell they were thinking.
I mean, the 2014 was just an awful year for games in general. There wasn't a ton. It was that and like what was that Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor, one of those.
Yeah, Shadow of Mordor. But that's what I
Yeah,
mean. Like that should have kicked its ass in the awards.
yeah.
I really feel like that was the introduction of the Nemesis system, was it not?
Would that was that the first game or the second game?
The first game.
Okay,
We
then
had
yeah,
we had the orcs and stuff.
yeah,
And they have personalities and you're yeah. Like
yeah.
that's a lot of innovation, whereas Inquisition was something.
The thing I will say though is that bringing up Dragon Age 2 and Inquisition, I think that both of those games, while they did veer away from Dragon Age 1's combat, the roots of Origins, I think that neither of them took a big enough step. You know what I mean? Like if you're gonna go for it, go for it. And nobody would ever say that Dragon Age 2 or Dragon Age Inquisition had like God of War level combat. And if
No.
that's the inspiration that BioWare has like for their entire development cycle, if it's like we are aspiring to hit God of War level combat, not saying they can do it, but if that's the inspiration point and not just like, a slight okay, we're gonna slightly go more to an action oriented combat system where you press a button and you press a button. I mean, Dragon Age Inquisition, it was essentially you just press one button the entire damn game. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it
I
was
mean that was the same with Dragon Age 2 as well. It's the
yeah,
same
same
thing.
thing.
They had the same combat structure and that's what worries me because they can throw out all of these buzzwords of wanting to hit that, but when it comes time to actually applying it, are they just going to be like, well, this is way too much, and they'll just revert back to this?
I totally I feel you 100%. And if that is the case, because I mean, there was no impact on those hits or anything. Like it was
Hmm.
not it didn't even feel like real-time combat. You know what I mean? It felt like turn-based combat where you were just pressing a button to do the turn-based action opposed to doing it from a menu. It was really what it felt like. A little bit less so with Inquisition, but not much. And so yeah, there you can throw out, and I have a million different asterisks beside Dragon Age 4. You could kind of say that's a wish pick as much as it is a dark horse pick. I think that your dark horse for Helldivers 2 makes much much more sense realistically. But I just yeah, I could go on and on about
We
it. I
we just
just
we just want. I understand because I'm in this. I'm a huge Dragon Age fan. There's
yeah,
nothing more. I'm the same with Mass Effect. Like I love BioWare's golden ages of RPGs, and there's nothing more than I would like to have Dragon Age 4 be absolutely cracking, and then Mass Effect 5 to come out and be absolutely, or whatever it is, Mass Effect 4, whatever they're
yeah.
calling it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in the same boat, man. But that is our big six game of the year predictions for, well, it has the date right there, March 18th, 2024. So we shall see. We'll do an update to one of these sometime very soon, and we will well, not very soon. We'll probably wait until
Do it on a weekly basis.
really milk the shit out of that. But yeah, we'll do one of these probably, let's say we'll shoot for summertime or so, do a little update, big six update to see how we're feeling after, all the big releases. Because that's the thing is, a lot
A
of
lot of
of
a lot of these aren't out, and they're coming out within the next few months. So when they land, we'll kind of get a little bit more of an idea.
Totally. And also, with the E3 season, even though we don't do E3 anymore specifically, but that summer season is when a lot of games kind of just pop up that we never even knew about, and then it's like, oh, this new game that we had no idea about is actually it's going to come out in September. And it's like, oh shit, that comes from the creators of X, Y, and Z. And now we really got to look at that like, oh, could that be a possible game of the year
Hmm.
contender that we didn't expect? So this is what we have for right now, but I imagine by July, at least by like August, I think this list will change massively. So we will definitely circle back to it. Hit us in the comments below with your game of the year big six list. And yeah, man, that's about all I have. I appreciate you for joining me, Loon. You have any parting words you want to hit the people with? Any inspirational quotes that you need to get off your chest and inspire people to live their true life? I don't know what the fuck I'm saying.
Goodbye, Elden Ring. So that's what I'll leave it with. Goodbye, Elden Ring. Become one of us. There you
What one of Loon, one of Loon.
go.
I can't throw myself in the true gamer category yet, but yeah, man, I appreciate you for joining me, and we'll definitely have Loon's channel linked down below in the description, pinned comment, something like that, to go and check his channel out, and I'll definitely be hopping on over there to do some more podcasting endeavors. But until then, guys, appreciate y'all for joining me, and I will see you on the other side. Goodbye.